Hello, and welcome back to Empowered the Podcast. I am your host, Linda Brand. If you are new to the podcast, this podcast is all about growth and healing. It's about living in joy, taking radical responsibility for your life, responding, not reacting. It's about health and wellness, spiritual practices, and living your best and most authentic life. I am bringing you weekly guests who will inspire, educate, and motivate you on all things living your best and most joyful life. I overcame many challenges. I want to help you do the same. Let's live empowered together. If you enjoy, can you take a moment to leave a rating and review? It means so much to me to grow this audience and reach as many people as I can. Remember, sharing is caring. Thanks for being here, and let's go. Hello and welcome back to Empowered the Podcast. I'm your host, Linda Brand, and I'm so glad you're here. Today's guest is a bright light. She is a podcast host. She is a mother of three, a wife, a coach, a singer, and a songwriter. She is so much fun to talk to. I'm really excited for this conversation. Welcome, Karaleigh Garrison, to the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So tell us what's going on. I know you just came back from a retreat. I'm super excited to hear all about that because that was like the first time you traveled in a while because you're a mom.
Yes, I did. It was incredible. It was so great.
Tell us, where did you go and what was it about?
Yeah, so I actually just finished a mastermind to do something called keynote concerts, which is where you speak on stage, but you also sing. I'm not sure how much of the video is going to be shared, but I have a lot of music notes in my background because, as you said, I'm a singer-songwriter. One of my favorite things to do is to sing and perform for people. So when I found out that I could combine my love of music with speaking on stage, I was immediately all in. And so I joined this class for the last 6 months. We've been learning how to combine this, how to speak on stage and then sing. And it's really incredible because when you add the music to the storytelling element of a keynote, it really drives home the message and adds so much power to what you're saying to people. And so the kind of capstone of this mastermind that I was in was our retreat. And I got to fly out there, and it was actually the first time I've ever left my kids, and my oldest is 13, so that kind of puts that in perspective. And it was just really incredible to get to spend this time with this group of people that I've been hanging out with online for 6 months, and to get to know them even better, and just to feel so much love with them and to feel so seen. And just, it was a whole group of musicians all together, and we sang and we danced together. We just had a blast. It was so much fun.
That's amazing. I love that. You and I met through this women's community, the spiritual, powerful women's community. So tell us, what is that keynote speaker and songwriting, is that, or song singing, is that also spiritual? Are they also like in that spiritual realm?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was women and men. So it was nice. Actually a really, really diverse group of people, which was really incredible to have such a connection to such a wide variety of people. But we meditated, and we talked about, how money is spiritual, and it was really a truly incredible experience to be able to talk openly about, spirituality and God and higher power. And we were all very different people from different walks of life and with different religious beliefs. And yet we were all united in this, desire to bring peace to the world, especially through music and speaking. And we all have difficult stories, and we got to share those stories with these little mini keynotes that we got to share with each other. And I love this quote. It was originally attributed to Mr. Rogers, but I think someone else actually originally said it, where when you hear somebody's story, you can't help but love them. And it's so true. And so we all got to hear each other's stories. And even though we'd been meeting for 6 months, it was like you listen to somebody's story in person and you can just feel their soul as they're telling you about things that they've been through.
Oh, I love that. And we're all connected. Like I just had Mitzi Campbell on my show, and she has a podcast called Blossoms. And she said she falls in love with every one of her guests because of the story they tell. So it's exactly what you just said. So we're going to talk about money today because you and I have something in common there. And we are definitely going to dig into that because it's a juicy conversation. And I am just super excited to talk to you about money mindset and money and all of that because
and we had powerful experiences at this retreat around money that we can dive into, and I might just cry my eyes out because it was absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're a mom to 3 kids, and tell us, and then you have the podcast Seeking Sunshine that you just rebranded and to Seeking Sunshine. And how does it go?
Do what lights you up. Yes.
Do what lights you up. And you are just a ray of sunshine. You just shine when you speak. You're always smiling, always. I don't care what's going on in your life, you're smiling. And I love how you're showing up lately. You're just doing it. You're just a force. So tell us what shifted that had you just say, I'm doing this. What happened and what actions did you take?
Yeah, so it's been a whole journey. And so all 3 of my kids have special needs. And I hit this moment where I was like, I have all these dreams and all these ambitions. And if I wait for this magical moment where my kids, grow up and leave the house, and then I can just do what I want and I can live my life. Wait a minute. That's never going to happen. Because so my oldest and my youngest that are 13 and 9, they have high functioning autism. But then my 12-year-old who's in the middle is severely autistic and type 1 diabetic. And I was like, he's always going to live at home. He's never going to leave the house. And we have moments like today where I was like, okay, if I'm not smiling, I'm crying. He smashed another window this morning. And this is the 6th major thing he has smashed in 2 months. So this is the 2nd window he smashed, and he's smashed several mirrors and
How old is he?
He's 12.
Okay. Yeah. And then boys, I mean, even if he wasn't special, it's like special needs. I mean, it's like boys are high energy, and then that age is such a challenge. I mean, I raised a son. I have an adult son now, but it's like children, they're, and I mentor a boy with, big brothers, big sisters. And it's just, they have energy and they are at that age in between, right? They're not an adult. They're not a child, just saying. There's hormones. There's a lot of stuff happening. So
hormones,
it's just, but it's frustrating for sure. I totally have compassion.
And to have, a 12-year-old's body with all the hormones, but the mentality of a 1-year-old and the ability to comprehend of a 1-year-old. So he doesn't understand.
Oh my goodness.
He doesn't understand what he's done. He doesn't understand, to not do it again. Like he really just doesn't understand. And it's like, how do you teach?
Do you have support groups for women, for parents like this? I mean, or maybe
there's some online support, but in our current situation, we don't have a lot of hands-on support. We're actually we don't have any therapy. We don't have any, we don't have parents around. We my parents, we don't have any grandparents around. We don't have pretty much, it's just my husband and I, and he's amazing. So I'm so grateful that he's with me and we're a team on this. But I had this moment where I realized that my son's never going to leave the house. And if I want to, live my dreams, if I want to do the things I want to do that light me up, I have to figure out how to do them now as a mom with my son now. And so my big dream was that I always wanted to be a singer, and it burned in my soul. I wanted to sing. And I had these, I would dream of being on stages. And it was well, wait a minute. I'm a mom. I can't just be gone every single night, singing on stage. I have to be home with my kids. This seems impossible. And so for about a decade, I tried to put that flame out because I was I can't sing. I have to be home with my kids. And it hurt.
When did you
so
have the
much.
desire to sing though? Like how old were you? Like when did you know that you wanted to be a singer? I'm just curious. Was it before you had the kids?
I had my first solo when I was 8. So I've been dreaming of being on stage since I was really little. I've been writing songs since middle school. I put my first YouTube video out when I was about 16. I started voice lessons when I was a kid. It's been a longing in my heart since
That's awesome.
forever.
And then you and your husband like do stuff on you together. Does he sing too?
Yeah, my husband's also a singer-songwriter. We actually both studied opera in college, and hopefully it won't be too long.
Is that how you two met?
Kind of. He actually walked up to me in the dining hall, the freshman dining hall at college, and introduced himself. And then we got married right after that, and music was something we had in common.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
But we love singing together, and it's definitely a common dream that we have. But as parents, it was like, how do you get to do that? And so I tried to not. I was like, well, that's impossible. I can't do that. And so I tried to not. And so I would just sing at church for Christmas and Easter twice a year. And I was like, well, that's got to be good enough because that's all I get. Right. Except for it hurt. And I would have these meltdowns. Often I would just find myself sobbing to my husband of I want to sing. This is not enough for me. I want more. And I graduated college and had all these things. And I finally, it was a whole long journey, but I finally ended up back in a songwriting class and I learned how to write my own music. And now I actually write music from home. I have my own studio here in my basement and I write custom songs for people from home with my kids around, and I don't have to be on stage every night, and I get to do the thing I love and be mom and be home, and I love it. And I have my podcast, Seeking Sunshine, and I get to share my music on my podcast, and I write music for other podcasters, and it's been amazing as I've opened myself up to the possibility that my dreams didn't have to look the way that I thought they did. They could adapt to my life. And so that's now what I'm trying to teach other moms, that you get to be your best, most amazing self right now as a mom. You don't have to, burn your life down. You don't have to flip everything upside down. You get to be you. Yeah. You get to be an amazing mom. And you get to be all of you, right? And live your dreams. And they might have to adapt, and that's okay. You still get to show the world what you're made of. You get to stop playing small. You get to be all of you as a mom.
That's amazing. Because you're also offering free coaching on Wednesdays, correct?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yep, I do group coaching calls every Wednesday.
That's amazing. And then the podcast, Seeking Sunshine, Do What Lights You Up. Is that interviews? It's solos or a combination of both? And who are your guests? Who are your guests?
It is a combination of both. I have a lot of guests who are moms that are doing what lights them up, because my goal is to show you what's possible. I want to show moms that it is totally possible to do the thing you love and also be an amazing mom. It's not one or the other. It's possible to be both, because we need more examples of that in our lives. We need examples of women who are stepping into their power and being incredible moms and, living with their highest power, worshiping the God that they love in whatever way that they feel like showing up in every part of their life, not just making lots of money and then their family life sucks, right? Showing up in every part of their life, because that's what actual success is. It's across the board. It's not having an amazing family but being dirt poor. It's all of the areas of our lives. And there's mess. There's mess all over the place. There's mess throughout of it. Nothing's ever perfect, but it's when we can show up authentically across the board and not throw wrenches in the way because we're upper limiting ourselves. I just got to finish reading Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap. If you've ever read it, it's so good.
Yeah.
And he talks about, when you have an upper limit problem, you tend to do really well in one part of your life, and then you trash the next part of your life because you can't handle having so much success. And so it's what real success looks like in our lives is when we're allowing everything.
And it's a lot of it's mindset, right? So, I mean, we're abundant beings. We're all limitless, and it's all programs and mindset, because we can, like you said, we could have all this money and then still be in scarcity and lack and fear, or still be, alone and, lonely, where like I'm over here in Florida, and I'm in an apartment, and it is like a luxury hotel, and someone can be in their $700,000 home and still be in fear and lack and scarcity around things. Or I love my own company, and I'm attracting in my soulmate, or a good date, and I'm allowing, and I'm really just getting clear on what I desire and just enjoying the ride. Like, how do you help your clients that are stuck, that are feeling like imposter syndrome, and they want to do these things, but they're having the self-doubt, right? Self-doubt is the worst thing that we all experience as human beings. How do you help them with that? And then we'll get into that money talk that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, so many things. Oh, so self-doubt comes in waves, and it happens to all of us. And you cannot forget that it happens to the best of us. It happens to those people that you admire too. And if you pay enough attention, they will tell you that, because it's really easy to look at the people who you love and admire, the people at the top who are doing all the things that you want to do. And, we easily get jealous of them, and we're going, right. They're living the life I want to lead. Right. But if you pay attention to them, they will tell you that they are also afraid that they aren't good enough. They will tell you that imposter syndrome sneaks up on them too. And what happens for me is it comes in waves. And when I pay attention to that, then I can be like, oh, there's another wave. And if I just wait, it'll pass.
Right.
It will come and it will go. And I can just be like, oh, I'm in a low point. And if I can just wait it out for a few more days, I know that it won't last forever. It's just a dip. It's just a dip, and it will go. And it's fear lying to you.
Do you feel yourself? What do you do? Do you do anything to like help yourself, love on yourself? What actions do you take to help get out of, you can notice the thoughts and realize you are not those thoughts. And just, is there anything you personally do? And I love to hear your personal spiritual practice too, because I always ask my guests that. I love to ask that. What do you do, especially as a mom of 3 kids, and then a wife, and then you're doing all these amazing things, your podcast and your songwriting. How are you taking care of you?
I love it. So music helps me so much. Like prayer, I always, taking that time to you have to make sure that you know the difference between like prayer and meditation, and that you're putting them together. Because when we are praying, we tend to just be like, okay, God, everything's horrible. Everything's wrong. Listen. Everything's terrible in my life. Why am I sucking so bad at life right now and nothing's going my way? And actually, that's great. Get it all out. First of all, he can take it, right? Like, don't worry about upsetting the big guy. He can take it. But also, don't forget to listen. Because that's what's actually going to help you, is the listening part. And that's where the meditation part comes in, is the actual sitting. And I find that the music helps me so much if I'm just sitting and hearing somebody at a guided meditation helps me to just sit. And what I really love too is to go back and listen to songs that I have written.
I love
in the
that.
past because I really processed a lot of my heavy emotions while I was writing those songs. I find that that's how I work out a lot of my trauma and a lot of my junk is through writing songs.
It's like therapeutic for you. Like,
Yeah,
I love
it's
that you
super
said that because
therapeutic.
I literally listen to my own podcast. I listen to my own,
Yeah.
I did a meditation a guided meditation that I recorded, and I'll listen to it. Last night before I went to bed, I listened to my own meditation, and it's just, it's so cool. Like,
Yeah.
or like my interview on this other show, Applied Wisdom, like I was listening, I'm like, we could sell this freaking podcast episode. It was so juicy with so much content. So yeah, I love that you listen to your own things.
Creativity is so therapeutic, and we don't give ourselves enough credit for how creative we are. Like, we tend to think creativity is only in the like physical hands-on making stuff, which I'm all for. I love the physical hands-on making of things for processing emotions. Like, go stick your hands in some Play-Doh for 20, 30 minutes and tell me it doesn't help you work out some of that anger. Like, that will help you so much to just go. I mean, it can help to go do some dishes. It can help to go, go clean your house like that. We all like, a lot of us naturally gravitate towards like, all right, I'm angry, I'm gonna go clean something.
Yeah,
you ever noticed that in yourself?
I like
doing, but like,
I like making stuff in the kitchen. It's
yeah,
and then you feel good because you're like, I just created something. It's just, it's fun, and it's also where you're present. You're being present when you're doing those.
You're solving a problem that has nothing to do with like the big things that you can't solve in your life at the moment. Like this whole existential, I'm not good enough, I can't make the numbers show up. Like, instead you're like, I'm a sewer, right? I studied sewing and costume design in college. So it's like, I'm going to sew something. Like, I can make this fabric do the thing. I can solve the problem of putting the needle in the thread. I can do the thing. Like, I can make the thing happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I found. Because in addition to having 3 kids with special needs, my husband's actually also been disabled for a decade. And so for the last 10 years, he's doing much better now. But for a decade, I was his caretaker as well. And so what really helped me the most in those 10 years where I was carrying him to bed after he collapsed was making things. I made things, and I didn't realize what I was doing, but I was constantly making things. And I had, people telling me like that it was a waste of time and I didn't need it, but I needed it. It helped me so much to like find that area where I could have control in my life, where I felt so out of control. And it's like, if you can do that in a way that's actually productive instead of in a way that's unhelpful, because our natural tendency as humans is to do that in a way that's not healthy. So if we can pour that need for some semblance of control into, making something.
Yeah. And even your son, when he, like he probably needs to be doing something more, like whether it's playing a sport or something with his hands, right? To like help out.
Yeah, we usually have him clean up something. Like, we'll usually be like, oops, we dumped out this bucket of Legos. Now you need to clean it up. And that, when he's really frustrated, because that's the level that he can comprehend, is pick it up, put it in the basket. He actually hates sports, but that's where he's really great. It's like, oh, now I have a task that I can do. And so that's usually my advice to his teacher is like, give him something to do that is simple. And that's what we all need.
You can feel good about.
Yeah, we need something that we can easily accomplish. We need to give ourselves a quick win.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we're feeling like our whole world is crumbling around us, we need to give ourselves a quick win. And if that's making a loaf of bread, or and
I think celebrating the wins, right?
Yeah.
It's really important. So tell us, let's go to the money stuff, and then you can share your spiritual practice. So I had an epiphany not too long ago with the money stuff when I was listening to something and I just detached and decided I'm giving this way too much. It's just my programs, right?
Yeah.
So I always tell on different shows, I always talk about how you don't brush your teeth once and you're good for a week. You don't work out once and you're fit. It's a thing, right? So I feel the same way about the money mindset because you can like do all the work and realize, and work on your mindset. But it's still going to creep in, that subconscious stuff, right?
Yes.
So tell us what changed for you and how did you heal your money shit? Because I know you're dealing with.
Oh, yeah. I've been working on this a lot this year. So I'm going to start with the beginning of this year. I chose a word for the year, which I've never done before. This is the first time we've ever done this. And I chose it for the whole family, but no one really cared except for me. So it didn't really matter. And the word for the year I chose was fearless. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it was about money. I decided to stop being afraid of money. And what this really was coming from was a decade of poverty, a decade of my husband's been disabled and unable to work for a decade. Now we're sitting at almost a year of him being able to work. But at the beginning of the year, he had only been at this job for, a few months. And I was really worrying as we were stepping into this new job and losing all of the programs we were on. And I actually wrote a song about it called, I know, because that's what I do. I process all my emotions through music. And I wrote a song called Precipice. And it was about standing on the edge and taking a leap off the edge of this cliff of like, if he gets a job, what's going to happen to us? We're going to lose.
Instead of saying, everything. Wow, he's going to make money and it's like going to make everything better.
Yeah, it was like, wow, he's going to make money and it's not going to be enough for us to live on.
Right.
And we're going to lose this. Yeah, and it still is not enough for us to live on.
Right.
Like,
well, it's
been a very tedious, thing. And so I decided to stop being afraid of money at the beginning of the year. I decided to stop being afraid. And I invested in programs to grow.
That's amazing.
And which was scary because we couldn't really afford it. And I had never really invested. I mean, I was a college student forever, but investing in this personal growth was like really scary because there weren't student loans that were covering it show up.
The thing is, you made a decision, and that's the main thing. It wasn't the decision, but it was. But you made a decision. So number one, you were self-aware. You decided I'm going to be fearless when it comes to money. And then you invested in yourself and your growth. What better thing to invest in than yourself? So tell us what's next. So then what?
Yeah. So over the course of this year, not only I invested in multiple classes for myself, I have grown in absolutely unbelievable ways. Like I'm a different person than I was at the beginning of the year. Just hands down, I'm a different person. It has been the most tremendous amount of growth. It's unbelievable. And we did this exercise at the retreat where we separated into pairs and we spoke to each other as if the other person was money. And so I addressed this woman as if she was money, and I was supposed to tell her how I really felt about her as money. And I told her, and I said, "You've really disappointed me. I've worked my butt off my whole life for you to be here, and you weren't there for me." And I went on, for a couple minutes, and then we went and talked about it, and then we came back and talked to her again, and it was supposed to be, what's going to change. I was like, all right, I'm just going to trust that you're going to be there when you're ready to come. I'm going to set the seat at the table for you. I'm going to make sure that there is room for you. And I'm going to trust, because I realized that my problem was that I stopped trusting because I had been expecting and it wasn't coming, and I stopped trusting. And so it was really powerful. And Tiamo is the person who ran this retreat, is the person who does these keynote concerts. And he told us about his friend who came for his big, huge birthday party, and she's like a millionaire. And she gave him this book, and he opened this gift. And after she gave him the gift, she said, I have a question for you. I have a favor to ask of you. And he was like, yeah, anything. And she said, would you and your family let me live with you for a month if I lost all my money? And he was like, of course. And she's like a millionaire, right? And she's going, thank you so much. I've asked all of my friends this, and now I have 3 years of friend equity. So I don't have any worries about money or losing money. Because that's the thing with people, people always worry about money. Even if they have money, they worry about losing it. So she's going, now I don't have to worry about money at all, because I have 3 years of friend equity. I have 3 years of places I could stay. And so he had all of us stand up and raise our hands if we would be willing to host our new friends that we were just meeting in person, if we would be willing to host them at our homes for a month if the others went broke. And it was easy for me to say, absolutely, I would love having you guys in my house for a month. But I broke down in tears at the thought of imposing my family on somebody else for a month. And I'm very bright and sunshiny, and my normal presence in a room is very me. And as soon
So what did that tell you?
Oh, it told me a lot about myself. And as soon as I was not me anymore, as soon as I was trying to hide this fact that I was like sobbing, it was really obvious to everyone, even though I wasn't loud. And like we took a break, and somebody tried to talk to me, and I was like, don't talk to me. And then they talked to me, and then I sobbed. They were like, oh, let me give you a hug. And I just burst into tears. And I like sort of pulled myself together, and then I couldn't pull myself together. And then we met back up, and we were sitting there, and I was not doing a very good job holding myself together. And Tiamo noticed me, and he finally was like, and he spoke to me about it later, and he was like, I was having this debate in my head because I could see that you were not yourself anymore. So finally he called me on, and he was like, tell us what's going on. And I finally just broke down, and they just immediately, somebody immediately came up behind me and hugged me, and they immediately just wrapped me in so much love. And one of them was like, I have an extra house, you could stay at my extra house. And they were like, it doesn't have to look that way, you could pay your rent, or we could do whatever. And it was turned out it wasn't so much about the money for me, and that I had deeper
self-worth.
As much as I have, money blocks and money issues, it turned out I had other things I needed to work through. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's true for all of us.
Absolutely.
Maybe our money issues aren't really about money. Maybe it's really about us feeling good enough and imposing ourselves on other people.
It's all connected, girl. It's all connected. The worthiness, the money, it's all connected.
Well, and what I learned was just like, there's so much love available to us. And when we're really authentic and when we really like allow ourselves to be seen, because it's not, when we really allow ourselves to receive it and to be seen, there are people that love you in all your mess.
There's so many, and it's all the time. Like the love is strangers are loving and kind. People want to help. People want to. It's like the gift is in the giving, girl. I mean, it's so it's so true. It's so true. It's when just when you realize like what the real meaning is in the whole like exists, like being here. What are we here for? What do you think we're here for, Karaleigh?
We're here for love. We're here to learn how to get out of our own heads and just love each other.
Yeah. Learn and grow and serve and give. Absolutely. So let's see. Tell us about your self-care and your spiritual practice. And then we'll talk about where we can find you, because I have to wrap it up.
Yeah. One of my favorite things that I did on this retreat was I went to the movies by myself because my flight landed Friday at noon, and then our retreat didn't start till Saturday morning. So I went to the movies by myself, and it was so good. So good. I got to go see the Marvels. And
that's what I was going to say. What did you see?
Yeah. I saw the Marvels, which had just come out that day. It was so good. I totally recommend it. But it's self-care. I love talking about self-care being doing what lights you up. But self-care is so much about like paying attention to what you need and then doing it. Yeah. And the more that you pay attention, the more you're going to realize how much you are giving to other people instead of yourself. That's called people pleasing. And the more that I dive into this whole self-care thing, the more I realize, because there's a time not that long ago where I would have told you, no, I'm not a people pleaser, but it turns out I am super duper a people pleaser.
We all are. We all
are. It's like a huge problem to what you actually want. Yeah. And you're giving other people what they want instead all the time.
It's not selfish. It's actually necessary to be the best mom, the best wife, the best, coach.
Human.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have a ritual that you do in the mornings or the evenings at all? Like, a meditation practice or any of that?
My thing is that I do my hair and my makeup every single morning without fail. Like since I was a teenager, like I spend an hour doing my hair and my makeup, and that is a non-negotiable. It does get interrupted frequently because I do have little kids, but like that's a non-negotiable for me. It doesn't matter if I'm getting up really early. It doesn't matter. I'm doing that. I also have added in that I read a couple chapters of my book every night before I go to bed, and I'm working with family members to respect my book reading time.
Good for you.
At night. But it does take, working with those, who love you, and those are
so what are you reading
around you.
Yeah. What are you reading right now?
Well, I just finished Be Seen by Jen Gottlieb, and it was so good. It just came out like a week or two ago, and it was
sweet.
So good. And now I just started like 2 days ago. This is Marketing by Seth Godin.
That is amazing. Yeah. Is there any spiritual leaders, coaches, mentors, books that had a huge impact on you that you'd like to share with the audience?
So many. I've loved Brene Brown. I always loved Kathy Heller. I think she was one of my first like bring it on home like favorites. There's so many. You have to find the person that really resonates with you, because different people just resonate differently. Like there's some really popular like books and podcasts and people where I'm like, they just aren't my favorite.
Yeah.
You have to find and maybe they are yours, and that's amazing. So you have to find the person, the podcast that like podcasts are amazing. I love podcasts. So go listen to podcasts. You've got to find the one that lights you up. You've got to find the one that resonates with you, the one that makes you feel good.
Tell us a couple books that that made a big difference in your life.
Well, let's see.
I think you mentioned the Surrender Experiment to me before.
Ooh, yes. I love the Surrender Experiment. That one was so good that I made my husband go read it right after I finished it. Let's see. What's here? Oh, this one was so good. Worthy Human by Tracy Litt. So good. Yeah. And I just finished listening to her last podcast episode. She's just incredible.
Yeah. What's her podcast?
Her podcast is called The How of Within.
Okay. The How of Within. Well, we've given a lot of good tips to the audience today. So
Gina DeVee's also good.
Oh, yes. I tell everybody about Gina DeVee's book, The Audacity to Be Queen. Tell us where people can find you and follow you and listen to your show and everything.
Awesome. So my show's called Seeking Sunshine, and my website is KaraleigHGarrison.com. And on my website, you can find all of the things, because that's where all the things are. So on social media, it's Karaleigh Garrison on Facebook, Karaleigh.Garrison on Instagram. And then Seeking Sunshine podcast.
And we'll have the links in the show notes, and it's Karaleigh, Karaleigh, correct?
Karaleigh.
Yes, Karaleigh, Leigh.
Yep. Okay. And then also my album is Seeking Sunshine as well.
Yes, so you have an album. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yep. And that was this year that you
Yeah, so my Seeking Sunshine album came out in May, and then I actually have a Christmas album that came out last Christmas called Wonder.
Oh my goodness, so much to celebrate. Beautiful. Keep shining. You're amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to listen to today's episode. It is my pleasure to bring you these powerful conversations to help you live a happier and more freedom-filled life. And if you are interested in following me, you can follow me at Linda Brand Coach or Linda Brand Homes on Instagram, or both. If you know anyone who may benefit from listening to this episode, please share it with them. I would love if you could leave a review and rate the show. It means so much to me to grow this audience. Have a beautiful, blessed day and live empowered.